Hello friends, it is I, Tara, your go-to interior designer on YouTube. Or maybe I'm not your go-to, maybe you have never seen my videos before, in which case, welcome. I'm sure you all see a lot of design content that is telling you what you should and should not be doing with your interiors, and while some of that advice is not bad, some of it is pretty terrible. So today I'm going to share some of my design advice that is maybe a little bit different from what you're used to hearing. I hope it is anyway, so let's get right into it. We all know the old adage, you get what you pay for, but unfortunately, it doesn't necessarily ring that true these days. It used to be that a higher price tag typically meant better quality, but that really, sadly, is not the case anymore. A lot of higher-end furniture manufacturers are getting away with charging these prices because of the brand name or the designer attached or some idea of exclusivity that convinces people that higher price point is justified. When the reality is that a lot of these pieces are being mass-produced under very similar conditions and with very similar materials to much cheaper furniture. This is one of the reasons we're seeing so much growth in the resale market. People are seeking out vintage pieces because they know that they're better made. The quality of the materials and the construction are just superior to what we're seeing now. If they have already lasted this long, chances are good they're going to continue to hold up. But whether you are buying new or secondhand, there are things you can look out for that will help you determine if something is actually worth the money. First of all, materials. Is it real wood or is it melamine made to look like wood? And if it is real wood, is it solid or is it a veneer? If it is a veneer, is the core something solid and stable like plywood, or is it something cheaper and less durable like particle board? And remember that while solid wood is often a very good indicator of quality, veneers do also have their place. Large flat surfaces like tabletops, for example, when those are constructed from solid wood, they run a greater risk of warping and twisting and cracking. When they're constructed of veneer, they're still going to give you that same beautiful wood finish, but they're going to be much more stable. When it comes to case goods, pay attention to the drawers. You can tell a lot about the quality of a piece based on the drawer construction. Is the drawer box wood or is it melamine? What is the joinery like? A melamine drawer box held together by dowels or staples is never going to hold up the way a solid wood dovetail drawer will. Are the drawer glides good quality? Does the drawer open and close smoothly and quietly, or does it rattle? These are all things you want to keep in mind. Now, if this is just some small accent piece of furniture that you're not even really going to be utilizing all that much, then this might not really matter to you. But if this is a core piece of furniture that you know you're going to be using all the time and for years to come, then it can absolutely make a difference. With upholstered pieces like a sofa, there are a lot of things you want to consider. The construction of the frame, the foam used for the cushions. Is there also down filling in those cushions? Is the upholstery a durable and stain-resistant fabric? If you're buying new, do your research on the manufacturer. And if it's vintage, is it sturdy, stable, and well-made? If you are looking to have it repaired and reupholstered, is it a piece that will be worth that investment? Make your buying decisions based on the quality of the item and not just assuming that you're getting what you pay for. When it comes to color schemes of interiors, I strongly believe the rules are made to be broken. Even the most unusual color schemes can look great when they're approached the right way. Color is one of the greatest tools we have in interior design. It impacts us psychologically. It triggers an emotional response. It can be an expression of our personal taste, and it can completely transform a room. So don't fear color. Embrace it. Experiment with it. Try something a bit unexpected. Be a little bold. It doesn't have to be a bigger commitment than a can of paint or a few decorative accessories. Look to art or fashion or nature for inspiration. Do what feels good to you, and don't worry so much about the rules. Okay, so still on the topic of color, let's talk about neutrals. Now, if you are someone that really likes neutrals and you just find yourself drawn to neutral spaces, then that is fine. You keep doing what works for you. But if you are selecting neutrals because you think you're being practical and you're selecting the most long-lasting option, you might actually be doing yourself a disservice. If you caught my video a couple of weeks ago, you know that I know this firsthand. I have chosen neutrals for my home, oftentimes gray, that I thought were the smart and sensible solution, and I regret it. Neutrals are not trend proof. At one time, all of the neutrals were brown, and then we moved on to gray, and then it became beige. And it seems like we're maybe back to brown again. So if you are choosing neutrals because they're popular at the moment and not because you actually genuinely like them, then don't be surprised if you regret your choices down the road. If you just disregard these neutral color trends and do what you like, you're probably much more likely to be happy with your choices in the long run. So when I first became a designer, laminate countertops, or what some people may know as Formica, that's a popular brand name, they were really commonplace. We do still see them in new builds, but typically it's laundry rooms, occasionally it's a bathroom, but they're not nearly as common anymore in kitchens. We tend to see a lot of quartz countertops around now, and there just are so many companies manufacturing quartz that the price has gotten a lot more competitive than it used to be. And while quartz is more durable than a laminate countertop, it does have its drawbacks. Lower quality quartz countertops that have a higher resin content can be a little more prone to staining. You can chip them, and they're not necessarily the best option in terms of environmental impact. They can pose dangers during the manufacturing process. And the majority of colors and finishes in quartz are made to look like stone, which is not necessarily going to work for everybody's design aesthetic. If you are looking for a really budget-friendly countertop material, laminate is still going to be one of your most cost-effective options, so I wouldn't necessarily disregard it. They can scratch, they can chip, they can stain, but I have lived with laminate countertops most of my life, and I've never really had any of those issues. And they're not heat resistant, but you actually shouldn't be putting hot things directly on your countertop anyway, regardless of the material. If you take a few precautions and you maintain your laminate countertops, they can last you a really long time. And when it comes to color and finish, there are so many choices with laminate countertops. Yes, there are the faux stone looks, which I am not really a fan of, but there are lots of other options as well. As for fabrication, you've basically got two options. There's post form and there's flat lay. Post form are the prefab countertops you see with the curved edge profile and sometimes also a continuous backsplash. Now, if you like the idea of a curved edge profile with no seam, you might want to go post form. I don't love the look of the continuous backsplash. I find that feels a little cheap, so I would just go without that and then tile your backsplash or even apply a sheet of laminate as your backsplash. Now keep in mind that the laminate that's used for a post-form countertop is a bit thinner because it has to be able to bend around that edge profile. And if you have an L-shaped countertop, anywhere you turn a corner, you're going to have a seam. Now, flat lay countertops are custom made when a sheet of laminate is glued to a substrate and then cut to the right shape. So in some circumstances, if the overall size of your countertop is smaller than a sheet of laminate, you might be able to avoid a seam. Now, the edge profile on a flat lay countertop is always finished separately, so you're going to have a seam. At one time, we used to see a lot of wood edges, but they don't tend to wear as well, so they're not really that common anymore. Usually what you're going to find is what they call a self edge. Now, sometimes in a more custom project, you might see laminate countertops with a plywood edge like this. I think in the right setting, these can really be quite cool. I like these. Or if you're wanting to go with a really retro look, then you might also want to consider the option of a metal edge. Something else I should mention about laminate countertops is that you cannot use them with undermount sinks. So yes, certainly there are drawbacks to plastic laminate. They're not going to be for everyone, but if you are on a really tight budget and you like the option of all of those different colors and styles, I do think in some cases it is still worth considering. Okay, so when I say that lino doesn't always suck, I need to clarify the definition of lino before you all start to think that I've lost my mind. Lino has become this like catch-all term for any flooring that looks like this. And yes, this does suck, but this is not actually lino. This is sheet vinyl. Real lino, linoleum, is this, and this does not suck. It is not plastic, it is a natural material, and it is much more environmentally sound. Lino is made from such materials as linseed oil, cork dust, and wood flour and pressed into a jute backing. It is naturally antibacterial, low in VOCs, and fully biodegradable. And linoleum is a durable option. Lino floors can last 30 to 40 years. You can scratch them, but the mineral pigments run throughout, so those scratches are much less obvious than on a sheet vinyl floor where the color and pattern is only on the surface. There are some potential downsides to linoleum that you should be aware of. It is not waterproof, just water resistant, so it's not recommended for wet areas like bathrooms. And unlike sheet vinyl, linoleum does need to be sealed, and you do have to periodically reseal it. Unlike sheet vinyl, linoleum is not really that popular of a flooring option anymore, so you might find sourcing it can be kind of challenging. One name brand you might want to look out for is Marmoleum. You can find linoleum out there, but because it's not as popular, you should also be prepared to pay more. So this is going to cost you more than vinyl flooring. Aesthetically, linoleum is maybe not for everyone, but I quite like it. I think it's timeless. You might recognize it from mid-century interiors, and it hasn't really changed since then. You can keep it simple and stick to one color, or you can go with something more dramatic and install it in a pattern. So don't disregard the idea of lino, real lino, as a flooring option for your home. Marble. The people who love it really tend to love it, but it's not necessarily for everyone. First of all, it's expensive, whether for walls, floors, or countertops. Genuine marble is just not in a lot of people's budgets. Another factor is durability. Marble is porous. It has to be sealed. You have to periodically reseal it. It is prone to etching and staining. Now, for some people, that's not an issue. They're aware of that, they're comfortable with that, they don't mind that natural patina that can develop with marble. But for other people, that can be a major downside. And then there's all the really colorful marble that we have been seeing lately. And I do think that a lot of these interiors are gorgeous, but they are also a very big commitment. This is a really bold statement. This is not easy to work with. This is not a material that's just going to be easily adaptable to a different style. So if you are going to commit to marble, especially really colorful marble, you've got to be very certain that you love it and will continue to love it. Or you need to have a big enough budget that you won't mind replacing it. Track lighting used to be really popular, and then it wasn't. And there's still a bit of a stigma around track lighting, but it has come a long way in terms of options and aesthetics. I think track lighting can be a great option for affordable and functional lighting. With just one light outlet, you can add enough bulbs to light a substantial area and direct those bulbs the way you need them. It can be super helpful in a kitchen, even in a living space. It can give you this sort of modern art gallery kind of vibe. So if you need some effective overhead lighting in your space, don't overlook the idea of track lighting. Hardwood flooring is very nice. It has warmth and depth and character. It's usually pretty timeless, although some species of wood and some stain colors might be more timeless than others. And in terms of style, it's usually pretty easy to work with. But the reality is that hardwood is not always the best option. I remember as a youngish, newish designer when I first started in the home building industry, and I would watch my more senior colleagues navigate this question. We would always get home buyers asking, I have a dog, which hardwood should I get? And their answer would always be, you shouldn't get hardwood. We still had lots of buyers that went with hardwood floors, and I'm sure I will get comments on this video from people who have pets and hardwood and still really love it. And there are times it's going to be fine. If you have really light floors, they're not going to show the damage as much. If you have older floors that already have a lot of wear and patina, you're not going to notice the damage as much. But if you have kids or pets and you have a brand new, pristine hardwood floor, especially if it is a darker stain or a glossier finish, you are going to see the scratches and dents. And yes, if you are patient, eventually the floor will wear, it will become part of the character, but it's going to take some time and you need to be prepared for it to get worse before it gets better. Okay, this is a topic we have touched on before, but I think it's worth reiterating. Please stop making design choices based on resale value. First of all, what you're choosing today based on what is popular right now could just end up feeling tired and dated by the time you actually are selling. Plus, you have no way of knowing what the design tastes of a potential future buyer could actually be. I, for one, can usually tell pretty easily when a home has been renovated solely for resale purposes, and I very rarely like what they've done. I would much rather spend less money on a house that is maybe a little bit quirky or a bit dated that I can put my own stamp on than paying extra for somebody else's renovation that I don't even like. And most importantly, your home is yours. It should function the way that you need it to, and it should look the way you want it to. So spend your money doing what will make you happy, not someone who doesn't live there. The word timeless kind of gets thrown around a lot, and I think it ends up getting used in ways that are actually rather inaccurate. So often people associate timeless with an interior that feels neutral, classic, and cohesive in style. But that definition isn't necessarily timeless at all. It's more likely to be the kind of interior that suits the aesthetic of the time and what people think timeless is supposed to look like based on that prevailing aesthetic. And if you can easily identify when an interior was designed, then that doesn't really feel like the definition of timeless. You can have design elements in your home that are easily associated with a specific design style or time period and still create a space that feels timeless. The key is to combine elements from a variety of eras to make your home look like it has evolved over time. It should look like a collection of pieces that have been acquired organically. Because a home that looks like it has changed and evolved and been slowly and thoughtfully brought together is usually a home that feels timeless. All right, friends, that is everything I have for you today. Those are all my hot takes. At least I think they were kind of hot takes. I don't know, maybe if you watch my content regularly, this is the kind of thing you've come to expect from me. But I think we at least covered some topics we haven't talked about before. Thank you so much for being here. If you wouldn't mind liking, hyping, commenting, subscribing, I would really appreciate it. I hope we see you at the next one, and bye for now.